All right, good morning. Steve Weber here. I am the host of the American Gumption morning show being broadcast here on Spirituality Gone Wild and also broadcasting on the American Gumption Facebook page and the American Gumption YouTube channel. So please find me on one of the American Gumption channels or on Spirituality Gone Wild and bookmark the page, and you'll get the notices when I go live, usually Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the East Coast, 7 to 8 a.m. on the West Coast. Alrighty, so today is Friday. It's September 11th. It's the 19th anniversary of 9/11, and lots of commemorative or remembrances going on the different cable channels, and I won't go through all of that, but I will share what I was doing that day as part of my monologue, and I'll just tell you, some of the what I was thinking at the time and some of the things that I think about today as a result of it, and also connect that to what this American Gumption morning show is all about. As I come to the end of the 6-week mark for show, today's show number 29. So we did 5 weeks of 5 shows and 1 week of 4 shows. So doing pretty good here to get started. Alrighty, so that's coming up. The monologue is on 9/11 remembered and the American Gumption Vision Project update. Alrighty, let's see. We have next week we have Danielle Hamlet on Tuesday, and Danielle and I are going to talk about the 12-week year. And I read this book. She recommended it. It was written by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. So anyway, they did a nice job with it, and I've been trying to incorporate some of that. So Danielle and I will talk about that particular aspect of how you do your planning and your focus day in and day out. On Wednesday, Natalie Coleman will be joining me. Natalie is living in England from Africa, and it's a story of recovery. I was on Natalie's show last week or 2 weeks ago, and I talked about my own experience. I've been alcohol-free for almost 4 years now, and so Natalie's going to come on my show, and we're going to talk about recovery. One of the things that I specifically didn't want to do with this show is make it all about recovery. That's not my identity, but it certainly is a piece of who I am, and so I want to share those stories and proudly talk about my own recovery. So anyway, there's that's coming up on Wednesday. Alrighty, now tomorrow, no broadcasting Saturday, but I am going to be involved in a Spirituality Gone Wild team meeting with the other host, and Debbie G is going to update us and talk about the new website that's been launched, the spirituality.com. Please go there. There's now a member site available. All of the hosts will be contributing pieces to that. So when you become a member, you'll have access to different behind the scenes courses and things. So I'll be happy to share what happens with that next week when I get back. And so anyway, just wanted to let you know that that's pretty exciting and on my schedule. Alrighty. So today's an abbreviated show. All I'm going to do is monologue, no guest today. And I'm going to have a 2-part monologue. The first part is 9/11 2001, what I was doing and what I remember. We all have a story about it, so I'll just share my story, and then I'll give you an update on the American Gumption project and my vision as I kind of sit here today, reflecting on 9/11 and also the fact that 6 weeks have gone by since I started broadcasting, and things have changed, things have evolved, and so I'll bring an update on that. Alrighty, so that's it. So I expect I'll be out of here probably in 25 after the hour or something like that. So it's not going to be a long show by any means. And one last thing. Now our guest Sue Phillips, our scent expert, who was on fragrance and scent expert on the show yesterday, a great interview. Please go back and watch that. But I remember when we were scheduling this, I said, do you want to come on Thursday or Friday, talking about this week, either yesterday or today? And she said, oh, 911 is Friday. There's always a lot of things going on. That's probably not a good day for me, to be on the show. And I agreed with her. And so we scheduled her for yesterday. And that sort of stuck in my mind. And I would have scheduled somebody if somebody popped up and was ready to be a guest. I think I almost intentionally didn't schedule somebody, and then I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to tell the story, and we'll make it a shorter day. So that's how it works out. Energetically, it all is working out the way it's supposed to. All right. So again, today's monologue, kind of a two-part series. So where was I on 9/11? I was living in San Jose at the time. I had just moved from Santa Clara, where I had been for 12, 13 years. And now I'm living in downtown San Jose. I bought an old ramshackle house. It was gutted out. And I initially was living in Santa Clara and heading down there. And a friend of mine said, why don't you get a travel trailer, put it in the backyard, hook it up, and, at least you can be living on the property and you can rent out the other house. And so anyway, that's what I ended up doing. So I had this old house in an older neighborhood in downtown San Jose, and I ended up having a travel trailer in the back of it. And the house was gutted out. It was all kinds of work and construction that needed to be done on it. And so I was living on the property, and in the backyard, I had a travel trailer, and I hooked it up to the sewer system and the plumbing, and had a shower and sink and propane was, you hooked up and you could cook. And anyway, I ended up living several years in the backyard, but I was new to being there. At the same time that was going on in my life, I don't ask me why, but I used to have the radio on all the time, and I listened to a lot of talk radio. The KSFO was a station out of the Bay Area, and I listened to that practically all day long, even through the night. And I had the radio on. And now I think about that, that was a crazy time of my life, because I constantly had information going on, being pumped into my head. And there was never any quiet, which I actually don't know. I like a lot of quiet now. I don't like the radio on. But anyway, the radio is on. So I wake up. And it was Tuesday morning, of course. I had worked over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing my Forrest Gump thing at Bubba Gump's. And Monday was always kind of a brain dead day where I was, just recovering from that big burst of energy with people. And so now it's Tuesday morning, and I'm waking up, but the radio's on, and the broadcast team that was on, again, a talk format, and they mentioned, oh, we're just getting the news that there's a report from New York that a plane has crashed into the center. And one of the hosts of the show was a pilot, and he's speculating, well, I'm a pilot, how in the world could a little plane fly into it? And of course, they didn't realize it was a jet plane. And they're thinking, but the first thought is that it's somehow a little guy flying around in his plane, gets disoriented and crashes into the thing. And then they're getting images back, and they're starting to say, oh, we're getting images. So now I'm like kind of waking up, and I'm listening to this. It's about 5:45 on the West Coast time. And so I'm listening to this, and then they're saying, we're getting images of it. And there's a big hole in the building, and there's fire. And then there's, again, no reporting with understanding of what had happened. But I'm listening to all this, and they're saying there's a hole in it. It had to be a bigger plane. It couldn't be just a little tiny plane that crashed into the little plane. Would have just crashed in and fell down the outside of the building. That's what they're saying. So I'm listening to this, and now I'm like kind of awake and listening. And so then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, we're getting more reports. It was actually a bigger plane and this and that. So now I'm about ready to jump up and get out of bed. And then they say a second plane has hit the other tower. And then it's like crazy. And I jump up and I go out and I turn on the TV. And so, and of course, then I just watched the rest of the day, mesmerized like the rest of us did. And, within a few hours, the plane traffic had stopped. And I was not directly in the flight path of San Jose Airport, but about a mile away is where the planes would fly over. And now they're getting pretty low because the airport was only about 3 miles away. So I would hear the planes go by on a regular basis. And so I remember, that day and the next day, like it getting quieter in terms of the plane traffic had all stopped. And that was, and then I remember when I heard planes, like after they sort of started coming back, or maybe just for whatever weird reason, a plane was landing there. It's like, oh my God, a plane. And I was hearing that. So that kind of, that's kind of, where I was at the time. I was just, I was in bed when it happened, but I was waking up and I was listening to the radio and heard it all, and then got up and, turned on the TV and of course watched when the towers came down and saw all that. And then for the next, for that rest of that day, just, trying to get an understanding of everything that happened. And so, and it was a Tuesday. I had worked over the weekend, so it wasn't like I had to, I wasn't going to Monterey or San Francisco working for Bubba Gump at the time. I just was at home. It was a day I was planning to be at home, and I was at home, and nothing happened, in terms of other than just sitting there watching it. So that's my remembrance of 9/11. As I, 19 years later, you look at it and it's just crazy. The world obviously changed. There was no, you were allowed to go in the airports before that and go in and, greet people at the station. And what had happened the year before that in 2000, my parents came out to San Jose, and they would typically come out for a week or two. My sister and I both lived in the Bay Area, and we lived near each other in Santa Clara, in fact. And so mom and dad would come out and stay for a week or two or whatever. So anyway, I went and picked up my mother and father at the airport. And for whatever crazy reason, this is again 2000, this is the year before, I thought I'm going to go over a little bit early and I'm going to go to the gate. And I did. I walked into the airport, and there was nothing stopped you. You just walked in and you looked at incoming flights or outgoing. Now you only see outgoing because that's all people care about. Incoming doesn't matter what gate incoming comes, because nobody meets them at the gate any longer. And so anyway, I went to the gate, and I remember looking through, and San Jose at the time still had part of their airport was an older terminal that had the stairs that got rolled up to it. And so you came out down, there was no runway that came down. And I remember being there at the gate and watching my mother come down the steps and thinking, oh, it's really old. And it turns out she had a brain tumor, and she ended up transitioning within the next couple of months. And I don't know what prompted me to want to go to the airport that day and, meet her at the gate. But I remember, like holding her, having her hold my arm and walking, and she was unsteady on her feet. And I was like, I had seen her 6 months earlier back in Pennsylvania. And it was like, oh my gosh, how did this aging happen, instantaneously like that? So what's interesting about that is that it happened right before 1 year before that. I wouldn't have been allowed to go to an airport. I wouldn't have seen that. And what prompted me to get there ahead of time, park the car and walk in, who knows, other than you have an intuition and a feeling of it. So anyway, that's my recollections of that era, 2000 to 2001. And and the world changed, of course. And then, of course, I was, gung-ho on, revenge and, making people pay for that. And then you evolve, and then you change. And 2009, I did a lot of personal development work, and you start to see things differently. And obviously I'm not, endorsing what happened that day and thinking that was a good thing. It was a horrible thing, but also all the reaction and sometimes overreaction that took place, did that solve anything? Did that make the world a better place? Here we are in Afghanistan 19 years later, and, there's still a small blueprint of that, so war been going on, people killed. Now, good news is that is coming to an end, we hope, and no American deaths in Afghanistan since February or something like that. Peace talks, things are happening. It's evolving. It's not a good thing that happened, and world's a mess. COVID, fast forward to today, kind of a similar situation in that the world stopped. 9/11, everything stopped. All the planes stopped. It happened in the United States. We were ground zero in terms of, where the event took place, but the whole world was affected back in 9/11. And now COVID, different, but had the same kind of effect in that it stopped the world. So now twice in my lifetime, there's been events where everything stops, everything changes. The entire world awakens and looks at things differently as a result of what happened. So I'm using COVID as, a change opportunity, moving on. We're learning to communicate differently. People are awakening to different knowledge levels, consciousness, and evolving. And so anyway, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about 9/11. Things are changing, and what happens, who knows? So now let's shift into the part two of this little monologue and talk about the American Gumption project and where this is going and what's happening. So 6 weeks ago, I started broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild and the American Gumption Facebook page and YouTube channel. It's a simulcast that goes out everywhere. Happy to have people joining in on us. Let's see. And I one of my co-hosts, Safe Buxy from England, is joining in and saying hello. So good morning, Safe. Thanks for saying hello all the way from England. And happy to have you here today with me. So this project is evolving and changing, and it's going fast all of a sudden. So, it was a year ago, I kind of went the American Gumption, and but I'm still in Montana. I have to leave there, get out of there, end up back east. Needed a month or two to catch my breath. Beginning of the year, sort of started putting things together. Took a little dry run back in March, 2 weeks on the road, and then RV in Washington, Oregon. Exactly when COVID hit, everybody scrambles to go home, and I end up flying home in an airplane that's empty because it's like a week into it when by the time I got on the plane and returned home. So anyway, and then finally I launched my website on July 7th, and that's the day I met Debbie G, and she invites me to be part of the American Gumption project, and I start my morning show on August 3rd. So here it is. So I just wanted to kind of share with you how I see this thing unfolding. American Gumption is the umbrella. That's the big picture project. But my goal is to create some kind of a worldwide gumption movement. Let's have raised consciousness. Let's become more aware of taking responsibility for our thoughts, for our actions, and for our interactions with others. Three things, the three principles of gumption: thoughts, actions, interactions with others. And so that would be my vision. And so American Gumption is the big project, or the big picture of what I would like to see happen with it. Now, interestingly, I also thought at the last minute, I thought maybe I need to call this global gumption because it's bigger than, just the United States. It's a worldwide movement. And I ended up sticking with my first instinct was American Gumption. And my intention is to live and work from the road in an RV for the next 4 to 7 years, traveling around, meeting people, connecting, telling stories of gumption, and sharing ordinary people who are living and doing extraordinary things in their lives. So Global Gumption is very much a part of the brand because I'm having interviews with people from England, France, South Africa, to name some of the countries I've talked to so far, and I'm, my goal would be to talk to people all over the world. Obviously, those will be done more in the virtual sense as opposed to face to face. So anyway, so then, again, American Gumption's the big brand, and Speaking Gump was my brand for the last 10 years. And that's where I developed the 3 principles of gumption and the movie life lessons, the over 100 lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. And last year I put together a video series, 94 life lessons from the movie in honor of the 25th anniversary. Those are all available on the YouTube channel. So, this thought process and this thinking has been happening for about a 10-year period in my life. And now all of a sudden, boom, the morning show is the perfect venue and avenue to share these thoughts. And so I don't have to do too much research because I did 10 years of research getting ready for it. But that's a Speaking Gump. And I did my first virtual keynote 2.5 weeks ago. And I call it the Gumption, the COVID change opportunity, and that's my virtual keynote. And it talks about the fact that, hey, this is an opportunity, and this time where we all stopped is an opportunity to go forward and to create a new vision and a new life for ourselves. All righty. And Change by Gumption is, just one of those brands that was part of the Speaking Gump, and that's more of the consulting portion where I work with an organization doing some kind of a change over a period of time. That would be a project that wouldn't be permanent, but it would be like kind of a couple of week or a couple of month involvement with helping them move from A to B. And then Technology Gumption is my vision for really the mind mapping and for the technology that I'm using and strategic thinking. A little more of a coaching opportunity. So there'll be courses and places where people can learn about, how I've organized this particular program and project, and then also using technology to communicate and interact with others and get more done. The goal isn't, technology isn't the answer in and of itself, but it can be a tool. And so anyway, Technology Gumption kind of fits in with the Speaking Gump, Change by Gumption, and then Technology Gumption as far as some of the services that I will continue to offer and, work with different organizations. Now, the next big piece, and this hasn't fully manifested yet, but the vision of it is clearer and clearer. My intention is to live and work from the road the next 4 to 7 years. I fully expect that I will represent an RV brand or dealership, and they will become my primary sponsor. And, we will work hand in hand as far as I will support what they are doing and share what I'm doing out on the road. And as I travel around, they will be, the primary sponsor of making that possible for me to, live in different places. And as far as my living in different places, I don't see myself driving every day to a new location. But what I do see is myself driving to a location, setting up camp for a week or a couple of weeks or a month, and then hooking everything all back up again and traveling up to another place and staying for a while. And there could be times when I'm a little more mobile and moving. And then there could be other times where I'm a little more stationary. My intention would be to continue to do the 1 hour daily show, at least, 3, 4, or 5 days a week. Probably not every day, but, keep that going. And then also do, special things, special programming, either to support their needs as the primary sponsor. There's going to be an element of living and working from the road involving the RV lifestyle and technology. Excuse me. And that's it. That's the vision. So that part hasn't evolved yet, but it will, and I'm excited to bring it forward. Now, Bench Gumption is going to be a segment that appears on the Monday through Friday show, and it's going to basically just be a photo of a bench. Pinterest has thousands of benches, and people will send me bench pictures, and then an inspirational quote. And so for 4 years, I did a Montana Daily Inspiration, where I would have a picture and then all those cases, it was a photo that I took of Montana, of the mountains. And then I put in inspirational quotes. So I have a lot of these quotes. I have thousands of quotes that I've been collecting. I know what kind of quotes resonate with me, which quotes resonate with Gumption. So I've got these all organized in a database, and I've got certain thought leaders and historical wise men or wise women who have philosophers. And so dating back into the Roman and the Greek times. And so anyway, and then of course, lots of modern time people too. So anyway, Bench Gumption is just going to be a daily little segment where I show a picture of the bench and I have a daily quote, something light, something, well, not light, something to make you think, but the picture will be a bench. And so the thought there is that, benches are a nice place to stop and reflect. And so we'll sit down on the bench and we'll reflect about something. So that's Bench Gumption. Quantum Gumption is kind of my favorite one. And that's the whole energy work. That's the people like Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks. These have all been my guides the last couple of years, starting from many years ago and then losing connection with them and then coming back strong the last couple of years and consuming hours and hours of their videos on YouTube and learning about it. And so the whole idea that quantum energy is what creates matter is where I'm very interested in. And this is why the American Gumption morning show connected with Spirituality Gone Wild is such a good fit and why I'm so excited about it. So our other hosts are deeper into the quantum than I am. I feel like a student of quantum. I don't feel like a teacher of quantum, but the other hosts are definitely, deeper along that path. And so I would like to, learn from them. And I see myself more as the not so much the teacher, but more like the presenter of teachers. And so I'll be the host. I'll interview people and bring them on and share it with. So Quantum Gumption was one of those things that I said, in a year from now, I'll start that. But then when I launched this whole thing, I went, you know what? I'm going to bring everything forward and just let the chips fall where they may as far as what's important and what's not. I already mentioned global gumption, but I'll just mention it one more time. Just the fact that we are all connected. And it has to do with the quantum. And so we are all connected. And while American Gumption is my brand and it represents who I am and what I believe, it spreads out to the whole globe. And we're living in a very, very nice, beautiful time where the world is getting smaller. Technology allows us to communicate. And so that's how it'll be possible for people to come on this show and share their views. And hey, like I said, we're changing, we're evolving, we're growing. And finally, just for fun, I put classic rock gumption. And the idea with this is that as I'm traveling around, I want to meet the classic rock DJs in different cities, and I want to create little videos with them on the bench. I'll be dressed up like Forrest Gump, and they'll tell, we'll just play a song and we'll talk about, and obviously it'll be a song that influenced me as a child of the 60s and 70s, born in 1958. So the whole hippie thing was happening when I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And so I was too young to participate in it, but I wasn't too young to watch it from afar and be fascinated by it. And then all through the 70s, that's the music that, influenced me the strongest. But the 60s has laid the foundation. And my brother, 7 years older, and sister, 5 years older, they were listening to this music. So that's, again, one of those fun pieces that it's not as high a priority as some of the other gumption brands, but it's all going to happen over the next couple of years. So that's really it. I'll just add in here the member site. So I mentioned Spirituality Gone Wild has its own membership site, and I'll be talking about that more in the coming weeks as I learn more and what the vision is and how that is all going to work. But my own member site is going to be where all of the interviews that I do and all of the different connections and pieces and so the vision for my member site is it's a place for people who like this Gumption brand and want to be part of the community. They can go and they can have an archive of all the historical events, and it'll all be organized in a way that search through and find things and access it. It'll also be available on the YouTube channel, but it won't be as easy to find, and a gazillion different distractions for you, so you won't ever really be able to find anything you want in YouTube land. You could search it out and find it, but I think the members website will be a place that like-minded, Gumption-minded people will congregate and meet. So that is my vision for all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. It's Friday, September the 11th, 19 years after that day of infamy as far as the world is concerned, but at the same time, it was a day that changed things and made things happen. And then fast forward to this year, and everything's changed all over again. So twice in my lifetime, in the last 19 years, there's been events that have changed everything, and the world is like never like there's a gazillion little minor things that happen day in and day out that change things, but rarely are there like really big things that change things. So that's how I view this day, as one of those days that's remembered because everything changed after that day. And then this year, 2020, everything's changing after this year. So that's it. Next Tuesday, Danielle Hamlet, the 12-week year, we'll be discussing how you can get a year's worth of work done in 12 weeks. And imagine if you did that like 4 times a year, or even 3.5 times per year, you're going to be a lot more productive. And the whole strategy and thinking is that just focus on like a 12-week block at a time. Don't focus on, the year goals, because it's just too hard to imagine what you have to do, what steps you take. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Natalie Coleman from the UK will be joining me, and we'll talk about her story of recovery. All righty. Well, that's it. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of the American Gumption Morning Show. And thank you to my partners at Spirituality Gone Wild. I look forward to meeting with you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday.